Good morning and welcome once again. Hope things are going well. I thought today I would wear my latest gift package of In-N-Out Burger t-shirts. This is a black long sleeve. I think I have one of every kind that they make now, so please don't feel like you have to complete my wardrobe with everything In-N-Out Burger. I love the burgers, but there's a limit to everything, so thank you. I appreciate it. I really do appreciate it. But enough is enough. Okay, let's move on. Anyway, I wanted to continue the conversation I started yesterday when we were talking about some of the issues that we go through in our life and the things we struggle with, particularly really understanding the graciousness of God in the story of the prodigal son. And I talked a little bit about the word prodigal that we often interpret as meaning somebody who is bad, and actually the term means somebody who is overly generous. And somebody once said, I think it was Tim Keller, who said we should refer to this as the prodigal father, because it's the father in the story who is really being overly generous in not only providing for his son, forgiving his son, receiving him back, and restoring his son. I think those we really kind of end up having the wrong concept of what's really the focal point of the story. And the real focal point of the story actually is covered best by a passage in Luke 19:10, where Jesus said, the Son of Man came to seek and to save the lost. And that's really what this story is, the idea that God values lost people, something that every one of us who are now Christians understand. We were lost. I think sometimes we forget that we were lost. Sometimes we forget how sinful we were and rebellious and disobedient. We forget, as Paul said in Ephesians 2, that we were by nature objects of God's wrath. And I was going to hell in a handbasket when I met Jesus Christ, and he revealed himself to me, opened my eyes that I could believe on him. And so I want to really kind of continue that conversation by looking at the first part of that chapter in chapter 16, where he begins by saying in the very opening passage, he says, now all the tax collectors and sinners were coming near him to listen to him. And both the Pharisees and scribes began to grumble, saying, this man receives sinners and eats with them. Now, this is an important picture that's being drawn by Luke here, because what he's showing us is who is drawing near and who is standing back. And those people who are drawing near are the people that we would not expect to draw near to the holiest man that ever walked the planet. I mean, here's Jesus, who is sinlessly perfect. He's the consummate expression of holiness, of godliness, of righteousness. And in our minds, we often think that's a person who kind of floats above the ground, has a halo, and radiates angelic light, and, sinners cower and keep away from him. But in fact, just the opposite was true, that people who were sinners, who were really understood that they were sinners, they weren't thinking that they were good people who were misunderstood. They knew that they were sinners, and they were attracted to him. They wanted to get close to what he has, because holiness doesn't push people away. Holiness actually draws people to the object of holiness, because that holiness really does address the hole that every one of us has in the center of our heart. That inner void that we feel, that vacuum is, as it was once put, that Pascal called the inner vacuum that we all have. Excuse me for that. But basically, a man who has that void in his heart is drawn to something that will fulfill it. And that explains most of people's life choices. I mean, most people go through life, let me rephrase that, everybody goes through life trying to fill that inner void. And the sad thing is, the more we fill it, the deeper it gets, the less satisfied we are. It's kind of like one time I was living in a commune, and I didn't get a lot of protein in my diet, and I walked by a store and it said you could buy 12 candy bars for $1. And this would have been about 1969. And I remember I walked in and I bought 12 of those, and I thought I could share these with my friends. And then I decided to sit down on the curb and eat one, and then I ate another one, and I ate another one. I forget how many I ate, but way more than I wanted. And when I finally stopped eating them, I was so sickened and so disgusted by this input of sugar and chocolate into my system that I don't think I ever ate another candy bar for several years after that. And I think that's the way how it is for many people who don't know the Lord. You know, they're trying to fill that void inside of them, and they'll share how exciting their weekend was and all the fun they had and the cool things they did and all the kind of stuff. And yet all of that is an attempt to try to grasp in some way that they can hang on to something that will fill that hole inside of the heart and make them feel complete. The truth is there's only one thing that can do that, and that is Jesus Christ. He is the only one who can satisfy that hunger. And so it's interesting as Luke begins telling this story, he draws this interesting picture. Here is this group of people who you would think would be going to the back of the line. Instead, they're coming way up to the front. They want to sit as close as they can to hear what Jesus has to say. They're hanging on every word. And it's the people who didn't think they needed help, that they were already holy and above and beyond the petty things of life, who are sitting back, and instead of receiving and hearing what Jesus says, they're critical spirits. They're grinding and grudging and criticizing and trying to tear down, in a vain attempt to try to keep from allowing that truth to penetrate into their heart. Here's a challenge today. As you interact with people who don't know the Lord, try not to judge their behavior or their actions or their words, and really try to listen to the echo of the hollowness in their own heart, and really be compassionate for them, because the emptier they feel, the harder they push to try to fill that emptiness. And I say also that we need to just kind of look at ourselves. Do we kind of have a pharisaical, critical attitude towards certain people and things, even within the church, even within certain, pastors? God forbid. But, we just kind of do this. We become experts in what's wrong. And ultimately, people only know us for what we're against. They never get to really find out what we're really for. There's a challenge for you. Well, we'll pick it up tomorrow. Love you. God bless you, and go in His grace.